What's up, you guys? In this video, I'm going to compare the Timney Alpha for the Glock with the Johnny Vex shoe and the Glock Performance trigger. So this is a Gen 3. I'm going to go over how to make this Glock Performance trigger, which is for Gen 5, work for Gen 3. It's not too hard. I want to talk about how I improved the Timney as good as I can make it and how we could possibly get it better with the Glock Performance trigger, still chasing Glock perfection. So check out this pull. This is with the dot connector, which I think is the best. Really clean break. I mean, short reset, positive reset. So one of the things I did with this was actually I replaced the red Timney spring with another spring. So if you look inside there, there's a torsion spring, and these torsion springs, the red one is 0.032 inches. It just wasn't strong enough to give me a really good reset. I had to mess with the connectors all the time. So this is a torsion spring. It's 0.040 inches in diameter wide, and it comes with just an extra coil, so you basically unwind it once and clip the legs to match the Timney spring, and the reset is much better. So I'm going to work on getting this trigger, the Glock Performance trigger, to work with this Gen 3 frame. And I can talk about that real quick. First, let's go over the differences and the similarities. They're very similar in that the Glock Performance trigger has sort of the same thing going on. It's the same kind of mechanism. It holds the firing pin and it releases it, except it has this recess right there, so the firing pin won't hit it, and you'll probably get a much smoother break that way. Okay. It also has a bunch of things going on which basically hold the trigger bar a lot more. The trigger bars are quite different. The Glock Performance is really just pretty stamped rough steel, so I'm going to polish this as well. You have to knock out the shoe, so I'm really going to keep it simple, or I don't have to take out a lot of stuff. I'm going to unscrew the Vex shoe from this Timney bar and place this Performance bar in and just screw it in there right there. And the other thing that you'll notice that's different and the thing that I have to mess with today is the trigger mechanism housing. So the mechanism housing, we'll compare the two right now, are a little bit different. Okay, so the Performance is on the left. You can see that it protrudes a little bit further down. That's for Gen 5. So you just have to trim the bottom of this to make it work for a Gen 3 frame. The other thing, and shout out to Springer Precision, sending me another awesome racker. This is another build, probably for the next video, but right now we're focusing on the trigger. If you get the Springer Precision racker, it's made for Gens 1 through 5 because it doesn't have that little plastic nub there that Gen 3 slide plates do. So if you want to get the slide racker, you can kill two birds and get this Gen 1 through 5 compatible slide plate, also racker. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to shorten the housing to make it work for Gen 3. I'm going to polish this bar. I'm going to put it in there. We're going to compare. All right, we got it done. So I would say the trickiest part about doing this is just getting the trigger bar in and out of the housing from the Glock Performance. It is not as easy as the Timney, so that's the one con, is it's a lot easier to swap disconnectors in the stock housing than it is with the Glock Performance. But once you get it, it's not bad at all. Trigger is really nice. So I tried the plus, the dot, and settled on the Zev Pro. So you can see that the take up is very minimal. That's it. That's the take up. Almost nothing. There's a wall, really clean break, and short reset. Now the Zev Pro doesn't have a super audible reset like the stock connector or the dot connector or the plus connector or some of the other connectors. But because I have that extra power trigger return spring, I don't have to worry about messing with the connector anymore, and that's a positive because the connector is hard or not as easy to swap out in the Performance trigger. Is there a difference? There definitely feels like there's something different about this versus the Timney. When I had the dot connector in there, I was pulling around 4, which is fine because it's supposed to be a 5-pound connector. I did polish the bar of the Glock Performance trigger, and I polished the connector as well. but the Zev Pro is now hitting at 3 pounds exactly, which is really emulating what my 1911s do. And this to me feels like a really good single action CZ trigger. So I have a TSO and it has a very similar feeling trigger. And because this performance trigger works a little differently in the Timney, I think once you get it tuned, it's really awesome. So I'm going to take this out now and see how it functions. Here's an update. After tinkering more with this setup, I found that actually with the Vex shoe and the Glock Performance trigger, the dot connector is the best. Has a super positive reset, nice wall, crisp break, right? And I'll just do the whole thing. So the take up, very minimal, just that. This is the wall. That's the break. No over travel. Very short reset, very positive reset. Boom. Now this is pretty cool too. Check this out. You don't need the trigger return spring that you do in the Timney. Okay, so check this out. If you look at the housing, there's a internal spring right there that pushes the trigger bar back, helps it reset. I took out the Timney spring in there, which really helps with pull and actually makes it more smooth. If you have the Timney system, you probably are using this red spring, which is the strong one they give you, or this weak one. You might be having reset issues. So what I did to combat that was I bought this 0.040 inch torsion spring. You can tell it has an extra coil, so you have to unwind it once, unwind one coil, and clip the legs to match the Timney. It's pretty easy. But then you get a really nice, strong reset. So if you're keeping the Timney, I recommend you do that because this spring, the red one, is 0.032 inches. It's not very strong, and this one's even weaker, so I had to upgrade to 0.040 diameter wire, okay? So you can get these torsion springs. They cost about $5 each, but the shipping sucks. So the big positive on this, on the Glock Performance, it also helps us reset, and the dot connector is awesome.